Hello, I'm Tony Craig. This is your daily Formula One news. Yes, look at the thumbnail. Christian Horner denied by Adrian Newey. Jonathan Wheatley leaves Audi with immediate effect. McLaren say, we think we've worked it out. Lewis thinks Mercedes have got a party mode. And James Vowles says, this April break couldn't have come, I'll try and reword that again. This April break couldn't come quick enough. He thinks that time is going to be very useful in order to slim down that Williams. And also, Lauren Mekies says, I'm not worried. Lots to get into on tonight's Friday night Formula One news. So if you're a Formula One fan, of course, you're in the right place. Smash a like on the video if you're watching right now. Also, when you subscribe, if you haven't done already, make sure you've got the bell all icon ticked. That way, you can keep up to date with all of our content. Wow, it has been one of those days. Hello chat, lots of ways, busy tonight. Popping off for Friday night Formula One live. Jaman, Dorley, Retroman, Sulu, Old Geezer, Kev, Alan, Aman, Retroman, DT's in the house, Kev's in the house, Gemma, Queen of the Chat, Amon, Sulo, Kareen, hello, nice to see you in there, Zkev, Flatlander, Old Geezer, Richard's in there as well. Yes, you're all in. Great to have you all with us. It is Friday night, so before we get into it, it's a bit more relaxed. I'm having a little beer. Today's been a long day. As you can tell from the thumbnail, I prepared my stream, then I had to go off and do some work. By the time I'd come home, things had changed. You know, we ended up with the announcement that Jonathan Wheatley has left Audi with immediate effect. Yeah, exactly. The thumbnail of Horner behind bars. I know, because that was what was going to be the lead story. But we need to start off with this. Carl's like, yeah, he's having a drink. Right. So let's start with this. Oh dear. Yeah. The Horner stuff is still valid. But yeah, since I've got in straight from work, I had a little bit of tweaking to do. Because I always said, I don't believe it until it comes out from the BBC. Well, here you go. BBC says Wheatley leaves Audi amid Aston Martin link. Now, just to be clear, there's been no announcement from Aston Martin. The only thing that's been announced is that Jonathan Wheatley leaves Audi with immediate effect. And they released this statement. Audi clarified in a statement shared with motorsport.com that ahead of Audi F1 project, Mattia Binotto will continue leading the team while taking over additional responsibilities as team principal. The team's future structure will be fully defined at a later stage as the organisation continues to adapt to the evolving environment of Formula One. With the unwavering commitment of Audi AG, Audi Revolut F1 team will continue progressing towards challenging for championships by 2030. Okay, so it's true. Wheatley's gone. But there's a little bit more to this. Let me get to the let me just get to what the BBC is saying. So, Audi team principal Jonathan Wheatley's left the team with immediate effect. Statement from Audi said Wheatley was leaving for personal reasons, and that's true. So that's what they said. They cited personal reasons. Now, what we believe is those personal reasons are got a better job offer at Aston Martin. No, apparently he didn't like living in Switzerland and he wanted to come back to the UK. I'm not... How can that be true? But there you go. Obviously, Wheatley's been under contract with Audi for at least the remainder of this year, but a decision was made that he should leave immediately. He will have to serve a period of gardening leave before joining another team, the length of which will have to be negotiated between himself, Audi, and a potential future employer. Key among Wheatley's reasons for leaving were a desire to return to the UK by the end of this year. So, what does that mean for Audi? Well, I actually think this is good news for Binotto. I think he's quite happy to take over the team principal role as well as his CEO role. I think Binotto would quite enjoy having the extra power. think he likes being on the pit wall. I think he likes being at the Grand Prix. I think it's a good move for him. I think Wheatley was probably sidelined a little bit at Audi anyway when it came to roles and responsibilities as team principal. But we're going to get into, if he goes to Aston Martin, what his roles and responsibilities will be. Because again, Lawrence Stroll's come out with a statement which makes it pretty clear that the team principal role at Aston Martin isn't like any other team. It's reduced responsibilities. But we'll come into that in a minute. So yes, Binotto retains overall control. Wheatley's out as of today, sat at home, doing his gardening. What happens next, how long that gardening leave will be, we don't know. We don't know if he's going to Aston Martin. It's looking very likely now, to be fair, especially when we look at what Lawrence Stroll said in his statement, which I'm coming to next. So Lawrence Stroll wanted to steady the ship at Aston Martin, address the rumours, and also cement Adrian Newey's position in the team. This is what he said. I'd like to reaffirm that Adrian Newey is my partner and an important shareholder. He is Aston Martin Racing's managing technical partner, and he and I have a true partnership built on a shared vision of success for the company. We do things differently here, and while we don't currently adopt the traditional team principal role you see elsewhere, it is by design. As the most successful engineer in the history of the sport, Adrian's primary focus is on the strategic and technical leadership where he excels. He is supported by a highly skilled senior leadership team to deliver on all aspects of the business, both at the campus and trackside. So what Stroll's saying there is making it very clear, Newey's the boss, regardless of who's team principal. Newey's my partner in this. It doesn't get any higher than that, right? That's where Newey sits. There should be no shade cast on him, even though the team principal duties would be better suited for somebody else. And it will be a watered down team principal role. And when we talked about, I don't know if you saw my Aston Who's Next video, I said this in that video. I said, Wheatley's more of a yes man. He fits in to a structure. He's not going to sort of ruffle any feathers, crack skulls, and really sort of lead in the true sense of the word. He is going to execute a plan which is given to him from Adrian Newey, Lawrence Stroll, and he will then execute that and enforce that and work that, manage the... He's more of a team manager than team principal. He's basically going to, you know, do the day-to-day, do the press, and that's it, and help execute what Newey wants and what Stroll wants. That's what I said would be the role if it's a Wheatley choice. That's why maybe when we get to the next part of this story, which was the lead story originally, and on the thumbnail where Newey blocks Horner, and now after Lawrence Stroll's statement, I understand what's gone on. So when we look at this, Adrian Newey opposed Christian Horner joining Aston Martin after Lawrence Stroll meeting this week. Well, the first thing is Lawrence Stroll took a meeting with Christian Horner. Well, you would do. Your team's in absolute dire straits. Nothing's working out. Everything's a problem. Engine's crap. Car's crap. Nothing's good. You're struggling to even get a race distance in. So he's took a meeting with Christian Horner, and Horner's not going to be that role. The role that's been described in Lawrence Stroll's statement, Horner's not going to do that, is he? There is still an available CEO role, by the way, at Aston Martin. And so it's not totally ruled out that Horner couldn't be part of it, but he's not going to be their version of a team principal. That is for sure. But the big takeaway is, like, why is, Newey doesn't want to work with Horner again, I think. And I don't even think he wants him as a partner if he invests in Aston Martin and becomes CEO. I think Horner wants to keep control and have someone to do his bidding, and I think that's Wheatley. So basically, but here's the report from ESPN. It said Horner has not closed the door fully on joining Aston Martin. big statement. Horner considers Aston Martin to be his top alternative, depending on the role that Stroll would be ready to offer, most likely as the CEO. That's apparently what Horner's statement is. I don't think that's true. I think if Horner would have done a deal with Aston Martin, he would want to be Lawrence Stroll's number 2. That's what I think. I think that's what he wants. He'd want to be Horner's number 2, Lawrence Stroll's number 2, and I think Adrian Newey cemented that. I think he's solidified that position. I think Lawrence Stroll's statement says as much, and I think actually, if Lawrence Stroll had that meeting with Horner last week, maybe Newey was like, "Look, everyone knows you had that meeting with Horner. We need to do a press release," and that's the press release that came out. And Wheatley, yeah, of course, he's looking favourite to take the roles as team principal in that diluted team principal form. But yeah, it's all been going on today. It's all been going on. Gemma just turned 42. Oh, I can't. I'll tell you. Richard, I've been a fan since the early 60s. The chaos and confusion we have now is the same as it was back then. Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, Richard, in Formula One. Always chaos and confusion in Formula One. But yeah, this has all been crazy today. So what's the takeaway, right? Just to clear up the Audi situation and Aston Martin. The facts are Aston Martin have not announced the appointment of Wheatley. The only thing that we know that is absolute fact, he's left Audi. We don't know the term of his gardening leave. We don't know any of that stuff. It's just obviously made it highly likely that Wheatley's going to join Aston Martin. That's what it looks like. There will be more news to come. But yeah, it's going to go on. One thing I would say is Jonathan Wheatley is a big fan of Fernando Alonso. He put him in the top 3 drivers. He said he's like a god tier driver. So that's good news. I think Wheatley, that's good news for Alonso. Although Alonso doesn't need someone to put an arm around him, I don't think. I'm not sure he's really built like that. I think all he wants is just give me a freaking car that I can win with. Nizzy Priddle, Mr. Wheatley going to keep all the ducks in a row at Aston Martin. That's the thing, Nizzy Priddle. Like, that's something I think he is good at. Calming the water, steadying the ship. If Lance Stroll is having a tantrum and throwing his, toys out the cot, Wheatley will go in and put an arm around him and go, "Don't worry, Lance. You're going to be fine." Same with Fernando Alonso. I think that's going to be his role. So yeah, that is the latest. It's funny. I can't believe everything changed within a couple of hours. Right. Let's get into McLaren, because McLaren said something positive about their negative experience in China. McLaren share surprising breakthrough despite horror double DNS. Neither driver started the race in Shanghai. What positives could they possibly take away? Well, we all know the problems they've been having is to do with the Mercedes power unit, according to Andrea Stella. We need data from Mercedes. Where's our data? Mercedes are holding back on us. Well, this is what Andrea Stella had to say. McLaren share surprising breakthrough despite horror double DNS. So Andrea Stella revealed the team feels it's made a breakthrough in understanding its Mercedes power unit despite its double did not start in China. So obviously in Shanghai, let me tell you what happened. Lando Norris developed an electrical fault with the power unit, didn't leave the garage to do any laps. And then Oscar Piastri was wheeled off the grid, the starting grid as well, with another electrical issue, which was unrelated, to Lando Norris's electric issue. And that's the second Grand Prix in a row that Piastri had to watch from the garage. I don't think that's happened in Formula One before in one calendar season. But yeah, that's what's happened. And it's the first time... Oh, here's a stat for you. It's the first time since 2005 United States Grand Prix that both McLarens failed to start a Grand Prix. And this is what Andrea Stella said. The most detrimental aspect of not being able to participate in the race is the loss of points in the championship. Okay, while at the moment Mercedes seem to be in their own category and we are a little closer to Ferrari, we obviously race with the ambition to compete for important results. And we are just losing ground. These points could have been important at the end of the season. So the most important shortcoming of what happened is not scoring points. It's also quite regrettable and disappointing for our fans and for our partners from a commercial and technical point of view. So there are obviously several downsides. Every lap is important in 26. But this is the positive. I think we're learning quite rapidly. And with that, we have learned in Australia and in the sprint, we think we are actually in a good position now in terms of especially exploiting the power unit. So definitely more data would have been very useful, tuts up Mercedes. But what we regret most is not having the championship points. So Stella reckons they've cracked it. They've worked it out somehow from two DNSs in the Grand Prix and a little bit of running in the sprint. Stella thinks he knows how to extrapolate the value and performance from the Mercedes engine. How from that short running has he worked it out? That's godlike. That's some Uri Geller type stuff. He's just telepathically gone, okay, a little bit running, okay, we've cracked it. We know what Mercedes is doing, even though they're not giving us any real data. We know what we're doing. I'm not so sure. Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm not so sure. Look, will they have got some data? Yes. Some of that running from the sprint race, they'll have learned some things. But yeah, I do think that it's a tall order to go from where they are now to suddenly full Mercedes power. Yeah. Exactly. But it's I'm sorry, I was just looking at some of the chats. PR spin, Carl says. Yeah, I mean, look, I want McLaren to do well, of course I do. I want all teams to be at their best because I want to see some really close racing, and you know, I want it to be. I don't always want it to be the same guys at the top. None of us do really. It's nice to have some, you know, variation. You know, let's see Cadillac up there. Right? You know, it's nice to see some variation at the top. That's what we want. But yeah. But it's positive noises coming out from McLaren, but we will have to wait and see. Let's see what happens in Japan. Such a good track, Suzuka. Let's see what McLaren can bring. But it got me thinking of what Lewis Hamilton's been saying. And I wondered, does that mean that McLaren have somehow unlocked party mode? What's party mode? I hear you ask. This is brilliant. Lewis Hamilton thinks that Mercedes have got a party mode setting when they're in qualifying. Lando Norris rebuffs Lewis Hamilton's theory, but we have to get into this because you got to remember Hamilton was at Mercedes for a long time, and this is Hamilton like spilling the tea. Let me just have a quick swig of my beer. Oh, it's good. A party mode in Mercedes F1 engine. Lando Norris rebuffs it. Hamilton suggested a party mode may be contributing to Mercedes qualifying dominance. A theory that was rebuffed by Lando Norris. Well, So what Lewis said was, he suggested his long-time Formula One team, Mercedes, may still benefit from a party mode in qualifying. Mercedes was comfortably fastest in all 3 qualifying sessions so far this year. So for Hamilton, this was evocative of his time at Mercedes. So the Silver Arrows were fitted with an aggressive engine map for qualifying from 2018 onwards, which Lewis dubbed party mode. And he says, our quali mode is the most fun mode. It should be the party mode, Hamilton said ahead of the 2018 Australian Grand Prix. It is the most power and has the most juice, and it's when we hit the highest speed. Now, halfway through the 2020 season, the FIA clamped down on changing engine settings during qualifying and the race, and this is still the case to this day, with Article C5.23 of the technical regulations stating the power unit must be operated in a single ICE mode during each competitive lap in all sessions of a competition, with the exception of free practice sessions. But Hamilton, very suspicious as Lewis, believes Mercedes may have found a way for its engine to deliver more power when it matters. So he was asked about qualifying, he was asked about Mercedes in China, and Hamilton replied, I was with Mercedes for a very long time, so I know how it works there. In qualifying, they have another mode that they're able to go to, a bit like a party mode back in the day. And once they get to Q2, they switch that on. And we don't have that. What? Are you basically accusing Mercedes of cheating? Lewis, he's saying that every time Mercedes get into Q2, they switch on a party mode for more power, and Ferrari don't have that. McLaren obviously don't have it. Williams don't have it. So this is obviously an engine map that Mercedes have. Brilliant. And then he goes on to say, and then on race day, they obviously don't have that mode. So they still obviously have an advantage overall. We've got to figure out what that is, but there's something more they're able to extract, particularly in Q2. You see, in Q1, we're not that far away. Then all of a sudden, it's like a huge step. A tenth in Q1 behind, I think it was. And then all of a sudden, it's 7/10 or another half a second. It's a big step. So the rebuttal to that is Lando Norris has gone, we don't have that. The reigning world champion declared, asked if he thought Mercedes did have it. Norris replied, no. Sometimes when you're a bit off, you create things in your head. Or, Lando, do you just not have it and Mercedes have it? Just because you've got their power unit, you know Mercedes aren't giving McLaren enough data for them to extract the ultimate performance from the power unit. They're not going to give you their engine map, are they? Here you go. Try this engine map out in Q2. It's a belter. Maybe Norris doesn't have it. Maybe Lewis is right. Maybe Lewis knows all the tricks that Mercedes are up to because he was there for so long. And maybe that's it. Maybe every team needs a goddamn party mode for Q2. I'm here for it. Peter Arnold says, looks like McLaren team are backtracking on their criticism of Mercedes. I wonder if TC's theory on the number of Mercedes customer teams could be onto something. Well, I do think they're going to reduce their customer team. I think McLaren are the one at risk. I think if Mercedes secure the shares in Alpine are safe. Williams are safe because Williams just don't cause a problem for Mercedes. They'll take the engine. Doesn't matter if they don't give them much help because Williams are happy they've got the engine. So it's only McLaren who are a rival, a true rival, winning in the fashion they've won over the last 2 years. Yeah, Mercedes are like, why the hell do we want to help these guys? They're definitely not giving them party mode map. I tell you that. Harry Brown says Lando hasn't paid his subscription. Yeah, listen, you got to upgrade to get the party mode map from Mercedes. Yeah, Peter, 1.5 seconds is a huge ask in Formula One. Carl says, would it be possible for Ferrari to have their small turbo for the start and then a bigger one for the race? Exactly. What? That's almost the same thing, isn't it? You know, I mean, it's not. I mean, Flatlander said they put a screw under the pedal. Kev says, I thought that is what they've done with the dual wastegate, small turbo behaving like a larger one. I mean, I'm not a turbo expert, but all I know is smaller turbo means ultimately smaller power, right? That's a fact. Ferrari have got a smaller turbo, which gives them an advantage for getting away cleanly at the starts, quicker turbo spooling. But that sacrifice ultimately power, doesn't it? Unless they can compensate for the lack of power from the turbo with extra power in the engine. I don't know. Wiz says, yeah, McLaren are getting the Mercedes with adverts. Nizzy Priddle, why is Lando Norris disputing the possibility of a party mode? Does McLaren have their own hidden party mode? No, I think it'd be more like... Do you know what I think it is, Nizzy Priddle? I think it's more like Lando going, how can they have a party mode and I haven't got one? Like, I don't believe that can be the case. I mean, if they have, we'll see it, won't we? I mean, if qualifying in Japan should be interesting. If McLaren genuinely have managed to unlock a bit of performance from the power unit, then I don't know. I think engine mapping's a big point, though. I'm not sure every team has optimized their engine maps yet. I think Ferrari said exactly that. Ferrari are working on the software solutions, which is all basically engine mapping, right? Because they want to reduce power loss or wasted power from like traction, wheel spins, and they're looking at their map, and they believe they can improve energy recovery from that. I think fine tuning their engine mapping is going to be a big part of the early part of this season. Jaman says Mercedes learned from the last 2 years of McLaren dominance. Give customer teams a general mapping mode and let them develop their advanced mapping on their own. Exactly. You can't give away, you're still a works team, right? Give them the hardware and go, there you go. You can see what we're doing on track. You've got to build the rest. You've got to build, I'm sure there's a basic amount of software to operate the engine, a basic sort of, that they can build on, and then they have to go and build it. Blaine says, party mode, playing music too. Exactly. They've got, you've got George Russell listening to, I don't know, Taylor Swift. Kimmy Antonelli listening to, I don't know. Who would he listen to? I reckon George Russell would listen to Taylor Swift for some reason. Or maybe Katy Perry. Sorry, George, I've got no idea what your music taste is. Maybe not. Hey, Macarena. That's Charles Leclerc. He's got the Macarena on when he's got the Macarena wing. But yeah, I think every team needs to have a party mode. And I like Friday nights because you can drive the conversation. This is a lot more relaxed tonight. If you're watching this on replay, it's not going to be as good as watching it live. Friday night is we all relax, we have a little chill, we discuss things in the chat a bit more. We even discuss what music would George Russell listen to if he had a radio in his Formula One car. And that is a great question. Great question. And if you tell me, who would George listen to in his car? Gemma, good one. Meatloaf. Oh, brilliant. George Russell will be 80s power ballads, Peter Arnold said. Yeah, these are important things. Oh, Max, all about Max and Nordschleife. You know what, Gavin? Tell me what happened. Do you know what? I forgot he's doing the 24. Is he doing the 24 hours? Is it today? He's racing today, isn't he? How's he getting on? I've not even checked. I will check after this stream. So Gemma says Celine Dion. Oh, good. It's Aqua. Aqua. Celine Dion's Heart Will Go On's a good one. Mr. Wape says, this is why McLaren made the move to be a Honda factory team. Now they're getting shortchanged by Merc. Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's practicing it, Gavin. Brilliant. I will check. Yeah, so Mr. Wape's... I think, look, McLaren made the move to be a Honda factory team, which is exactly why Aston Martin did it. They wanted to have an exclusive relationship with a championship-winning power unit manufacturer like Honda. The problem is, Honda obviously diluted the F1 power unit team, haven't they? I mean, they'd lost 70% of the team. Doesn't mean they're not going to get back there. Honda will build an engine which can win. It's just going to take them a minute or a season, maybe. It's going to take them a while. But still, Aston Martin are better off having an exclusive relationship with Honda, because if Honda do build the best engine, then yeah, the benefit is only for Aston Martin. And that's what I think. So I do think it could be a good move longer term. They just have to put up with the short term pain. And it is short term pain. But for McLaren, what do? Well, you got to suck it up, Buttercup, at the moment, because you are a customer team. You haven't got an alternative, and I think it's going to be a tough few races. Lonely this Christmas. Oh God, that's a good one. That's what George Russell's got on his iPod driving around. Lonely this Christmas. Yeah, Sula says Honda will make good PUs right after Alonso leaves. Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. But yeah, party mode. I'm all for it. Bring on the party mode. I'm not sure how legal it is though, because if they've got to keep the same mode throughout the session, then surely what Hamilton's accusing Mercedes of is cheating. Someone needs to check that out. FIA, if you're watching, that's something else you need to check out, as well as the compression ratio. Check out that party mode. Right, let's go on to the next story. Williams. James Vowles admits overweight Williams needs April break to recover. He's sending that Williams to fat camp in April. So it's pretty fortuitous in the worst possible way that those Grand Prix have been cancelled. The Middle Eastern Grand Prix have been cancelled. It only took a war, which is not great, obviously. But those Grand Prix have been cancelled, and then teams like Aston Martin, Williams, it's a big benefit for them. And it means that Williams can go on a rapid diet throughout those 4 weeks. Exactly, Kevin. Williams going on Ozempic. And they've got more money as well, because they're not having to spend the money to go to those 2 Grand Prix. So they've got extra money within the cost cap to do developments, right? I saw that, Jaman. This is why you and I believe there should be at least 6 engine makers with a total of 2 teams at most. 100% agree with that. I 100% agree with that. More engine manufacturers, less shared engines, until eventually there's no shared engines whatsoever. 100% agree. So yeah, what's Vowlesy up to? So James Vowles says Williams will use Formula One's April break to tackle its 26 struggles and bring upgrades to improve performance and weight loss. He said, and this is what he said, he's claimed, and he's right about this, James Vowles has claimed that Williams will need every single hour of the April break to get back on the front foot. No shit, Sherlock, you are so far behind. Every waking hour is right. You know, you got to lose 25 kilos. F1 confirmed during the Chinese Grand Prix weekend that the Bahrain and Saudi Arabian Grand Prix will not take place in April due to the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Teams such as Williams, which has had a difficult start to the 26th season, will be hoping to make the most of the time back at the factory. Vowlesy said every single hour of that break we need in order to get ourselves back on the front foot by the time we come back to Miami. Clearly, we haven't started the season where we wanted to. You haven't even started the season well. You didn't even the preseason. You missed that in Barcelona. Yeah, you were late to the start of the season. You're not, and then when you did start, you were awful. So yeah, it's been understatement. So that period for us is about taking stock on what we actually really can change. Now, without attrition, we can count on the fact that production can be moved towards future performance. Some of that may come in Miami, some after that. Now, what's he talking about? Basically, because they have messed up the design of their 26 car at Williams, in terms of weight, to be 25 to 30 kilos overweight is not an easy problem to solve, because weight reduction means multiple different functional parts need to be redesigned. And what Vowles is saying is, well, as we improve those parts from an upgrade perspective, obviously we will reduce the weight of those parts to get towards our target of losing 25 to 30 kilos and get down to minimum weight. And he's saying we can't do that all at once. He goes, I know how to do it. I know where we can save the weight, but the cost cap prevents us from producing all of those parts. Well, here's my question. If you're telling me right now, 2 races in, you know how to save the weight without it being detrimental to those redesign of those parts, why did you not just build a car that was at minimum weight? What have you learnt in the last short period of running and limited running in the Williams? What have you learnt that means that you can, save all this weight? Like, how did you not know this beforehand? All the other teams, even people like Cadillac, are at weight. Red Bull actually are probably about 10 to 15 kilos overweight, but most of the teams are down. Audi are at the minimum weight. Mercedes are apparently using ballast, so they're underweight and using ballast to meet the minimum weight. So look, the problem with that is what you're basically saying is you're writing off this season. This season's going to be awful, because by the time you get to Miami, that will effectively be round 4. Because of the loss of, which would have been round 6, I don't know. And then you're still not saying that you're going to be at weight. Some will come after that. How long after that? I don't know. I just see this being a horrible season for Williams. I see this being, I don't think Williams finish higher than P. There's 11 teams. My prediction for Williams is P9. I don't see them. Yeah, I think P9 at best. I think Cadillac are P11. Aston Martin are obviously, I think they'll improve, maybe finish like P8. I don't know, P9 at best for Williams. Could be worse, regardless of what you're saying. But Zikev says it's not Williams are bad, it's that they are bad, and they started work on this crap show earlier than others. Yeah, well, that's the thing. How have they got an excuse? It's Williams are getting away with it. If it wasn't for Aston Martin dominating the headlines, because Newey and the Dream Team, Lawrence Stroll, and all the money they've spent, and Honda coming back, and it all being such a shit show at Aston Martin, Williams they're getting away with it. Nobody's pointing the finger. If Aston Martin were just even in the midfield doing okay, like doing an Audi, Williams would be getting all of the negative press. Everyone would be talking about it. People would be saying how James Vowles, does he keep his job? This is terrible. But Aston Martin have been taking all that heat. That's the thing. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to ask the chat, where do you realistically think, looking at the way Williams has started this season and the way they're talking, where realistically as a team do you think they could finish this season? Bearing in mind they finished P5 last season. I think it's bad. I think it's so bad. And does he? And a more pressing question is, does JV keep his job? Should he keep his job? Kev says, it's like me saying I don't know why I'm a porker and being on a diet of chips and cheesecake. Yeah, exactly. Williams went rogue with the pull rods. Yeah, they did. Push rod suspension. Look at what everyone else is doing. Everybody realise that push rods are the way to go. Got to be thinking of that. Peter Arnold says 10th. Yeah, just in front of Cadillac. Sula says 10th. Jeremy says 9th. Gavin reckons 8th. I'd be interested, Gavin. Who's 9th and 10th? In between Aston and Cadillac. Yeah, that's what I think, Crackite. That's what I think. Dolly says, if Wheatley has 18 months gardening leave, I think it's more probable her goddess to Williams than AMR stumble for that long. I mean, look, the Wheatley gardening leave. Where's the 8? I've seen this a couple of times. 18 months gardening leave. Is that what he's on, really? I mean, his contract will be till the end of this season, I would have thought, and then would have had gardening leave of, what, 6 months? But because he's leaving with immediate effect, and if Audi won't be paying him his contract at the end of the season, so his gardening leave would be 6 months from now. But this is the other point we've not spoken about over at Aston Martin. If his gardening leave is 6 months from now, that still leaves Adrian Newey in the shit, right? They still don't have someone helping him right now, which is what he needs. And as in doing those duties, what does he do? Does he send Mike Crack out again? Mike Crack to deputise for those duties like he did in China. It doesn't, whilst he's focusing on fixing, you know, the Honda and the Honda power and the car. Otherwise, what happens? Wheatley turns up when everything's fixed. You know, the idea is to help, is to get in the trenches now and help. You know. Yeah, you're right. It's not just, you are right, Jamon. Alpine, I know Alpine are using pull rod as well for some weird reason. Did Cadillac go with pull rod? I know Alpine did. I thought it might have even been Audi. I can't remember off the top of my head, actually. I thought it was right at the start of the season when we did the livery, when we did the car reveals. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was 3 teams going with pull rod. I suspect everyone will be on push rod by the end, push rod suspension by the end of the season. Nizzy Priddle says Williams may finish last. Yeah, Caddy's pull rod. So you got Caddy pull rod, Alpine pull rod, and Williams. Yes, that'll be the 3 teams. Yeah, Mike Bumcrack will be acting. Yeah, he'll be acting team principal. But how does that solve their problem? So all this rush to get Wheatley out of Audi to help with Adrian Newey. Well, if they're gonna have to negotiate a deal, aren't they, with Audi? That's what it comes down to. They're gonna have to negotiate a deal with Audi to get him out of his gardening leave and pay them some money. Because the whole point of this is Newey needs to be relieved from doing those team principal duties as quick as possible and fix the damn car. What was it Horner said? Fix your car. But it's true, that's what they got to do. Got to fix the car. Jim Clark says Ferrari are currently making specialised components especially suited to Monza. Bet on Ferrari to win that race. Oh, Jim Clark, the Macarena wing's pretty good for Monza, right? I know they're definitely doing that. And also, Jim, what's going on with the Ferrari Halo wing? Why does that come and go? Jim, our resident engineer. Yeah, do you know the Halo wing? They keep it comes and goes on the 26 cars. Is it working? Just Jim, TC. Yeah. But yeah, interesting. Interesting to know what that is. Like, because I've not worked out why that Halo wing on the Ferrari SF26 is not a permanent fixture, but it sort of comes and goes. Oh, yeah. Because considering Jenson Button is meant to be an Aston Martin ambassador, what has he actually done since he's been there? Do you know what, Wiz? That's a really good point. He's been bloody quiet, hasn't he? I mean, because that's what was funny, because in Melbourne, when Aston Martin was a complete shit show, what does Adrian Newey do? He sends Pedro de la Rosa out, to an Aston Martin ambassador, to face the press. And Newey didn't face the press. And I'm thinking at the time, hasn't Jenson Button just signed quite a lucrative deal with Aston Martin to be an ambassador? Why is he not saying anything? He's hiding. What exactly is his ambassador duties? Jenson Button is super quiet while all this is going on. Where's your positive message, Jenson? It's true. It's funny. Jenson should be out there on the PR offensive. He's too busy in party mode. Jenson Button's got a party mode, or he used to. I know that. Sulu says, the Halo wing is said to be an aero screen, but it's very risky. It's very tight in the regulations, and they might risk a double DNF. Is that what it is? They're worried about being... But they have run it, though. So they're worried about it being disqualified. So if the FIA said anything... Who's going to... Are they worried about protests from the other team? Because I actually thought that little Halo wing would be quite beneficial from a downforce point of view. Every little helps, right? So Ivor Greenplant says, not allowed to add anything to the Halo in the rules. So the Halo has to be exactly as is. You can Why the hell didn't they know that while they're trying to chuck in a Halo wing? If it's in the rules, you'd think that one would be pretty self-evident. Under no circumstances can you add any appendage to the Halo. Gavin says, do you think Verstappen is the main show? No Max excitement. I think Max is important. I do. I think Max brings a different element to Formula One. Max he really doesn't give a shit, does he? He'll say what he wants. Now he's won his World Driver Championships. I believe him when he says, I've won 4. That's enough. I don't need to win anymore. So now he's got this freedom of expression where he doesn't care. He likes driving in Formula One, not at the moment, but does he doesn't care what his bosses think. He's like, don't care. In Red Bull, I don't care. Don't you sack me then. I'll get another drive. He's got that attitude. He doesn't care what the FIA have to say. But he does bring a lot of drama to the sport. He's entertaining. And that's what this is for the FIA. The FIA, this is less, I think, about a sporting competition than it is a spectacle. Bring the fans in. Give them what they want. Oh, so Jeremy's saying that Ferrari were arguing that it's being a windscreen. So that's what they're worried about. If they run it, I think there's a good chance to get disqualified as well then. Wiz says, I'd like to see Max do IndyCar. Mr. Waite says, Max is the man. Cracker says, Jim, is it aimed towards a certain driver? Gavin says, he is the soap opera. Yeah, he is. He brings a lot. Him, Hamilton, they bring a lot. They bring a lot to the sport. Who would be the next outspoken driver? Carlos Sainz is pretty good. He's speaking up a bit. He is speaking up a bit. But yeah, it's I don't know. I don't want to see Max leave Formula One. I like the element that he brings. I really do. Oh, I've got another story as well. Hang on. So yeah, James Vowles working on a weight reduction program all the way through April. That's your news on Williams. And the final one, Lauren Mekies shares why worried is the wrong word for Red Bull's feelings about Mercedes' dominance. All right, Mekies. I'm not worried. Team principal Lauren Mekies does not feel Red Bull are worried about their early deficit to Mercedes in 26, as they're expected they would face a large gap this year. I'm going to start this off and say, Mekies, you should be worried. You're miles off it. You're miles off it. Max, your golden goose, hates driving these cars. The cars are qualifying badly. You're getting beaten by Haas. Like, yeah, you should be worried. That's going to drive your development. And I don't believe that you're not. But this is what he said. Obviously, engine failure for Hadjar in the Australian Grand Prix. Verstappen retired in the Chinese Grand Prix due to a coolant fault. And Verstappen was only running P6 when he stopped. Verstappen failed to overtake Ollie Behrman in the Haas in the Chinese Grand Prix. And then also, Behrman was able to hold a 2-second gap between him and Verstappen as well. So, look, you should be worried. So, Laurent Mekies says he's not surprised that Red Bull have a large deficit to Mercedes. The Red Bull RB22 has an inherent lack of downforce, which created a balance problem. That's the least of your problems. We're not even sure about the power unit, really, yet. Downforce is not good. Chewing up tyres like you wouldn't believe. You can't get your battery to charge on the formation lap. You can't get away from your starts. Max is confused about which turns and corners he's actually allowed, where he should be lifting and coasting. Like, everything there is a freaking shambles. And this team principal, Mekies, yeah, saying you're not worried, I call BS, and I think you should be worried. And this is what he actually said. I'm not sure if worried is the right word, Mekies said via Racer. It's large, no question. It really didn't come as a surprise. We were expecting them to be very strong as the pre-season test built up. And though it's not immediately visible at the test, so it's not a surprise that it's a big gap. On the other hand, we expect the season to be very long. We expect the development rate to be much higher than what we've seen in the past. So, of course, it's always going to be difficult to get a second back because obviously they will improve as well. But nobody's giving up here. And that is the fight we are in. I mean, all sounds a bit weak. Whenever people say nobody's giving up, that's the fight we're in. I would rather him say, we're going to catch them. I promise you we're going to catch them. Not nobody's giving up is a negative. You want to be speaking on the positive. You say, we have got the right team to catch Mercedes. We've got the right team looking after our power unit. We've got the right drivers, and we will work round the clock to do so. I don't like the language. And like I said, I've always said about Mekies, the jury's out for me on Mekies. He's great at some things. We know he's got a great engineering background. He did great things in Racing Bulls. But since Red Bull have lost their senior personnel, since Horner's gone, Wheatley, Newey, Helmut Marko, now Craig Skinner's gone as well, we could be looking at a sinking ship, ladies and gentlemen. There is no guarantee that Red Bull are going to be in the fight this year. And if that ship starts to sink to the lows of P5 and P6, well, see the rats leave. Some of the rats have already left. Craig Skinner, gone. And he chose to leave. Next one could be Max Verstappen, gone. Who else goes after that? There's others. There's others that have gone. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure Red Bull aren't going to slip down that very slippery, very steep slope that we have seen teams like Williams, Aston Martin to a point, 23, McLaren. We saw their fall from grace. It's how many years did it take them to build a winning car again? Ferrari, even. Like, look, Red Bull could be on this slippy slope now, all the way down to mediocrity or worse. I know that's a bit of a negative prediction if you're a Red Bull fan, but it really is possible. Yeah, Wiz said during testing, Red Bull didn't seem that bad. I agree with you. Their battery management looked quite good, but it's because everyone else was sandbagging. Toto Wolff was shining the light on Red Bull as, hey, Red Bull, they're the team to beat in 26, just because he wanted to get the heat off him because of his cheating allegations against him because of the compression ratio. So he was saying, oh, look at the fast Red Bull. Look how quick. Look how quick that Verstappen's getting around the track. I'm serious. Red Bull, everyone's thinking Red Bull are going to be able to turn it around. But who's leading that team? There's no... Look, we don't know. Mekies is an unknown entity to a lot of, to a larger extent. Mike McElfresh says Williams is toast. Williams is toast. I agree. I think this season for Williams is just I can't see him coming back with anything decent. And then I think you get Carlos Sainz leaving at the end of the season. Albon will be happy if he gets to keep his seat because Albon's gone right off the boil. His last half of the season, 25, was awful. Ha! Wiz, I love this. Dust off Ron Dennis for a Red Bull boss, man. Yeah, but they need someone like that. I'm not... Look, I have my question marks about some of these team principals. I do. And if McKees fails, maybe, I don't know. Who do they put in there instead? I mean, the only sort of available team principal that isn't Christian Horner is Seidel. Andreas Seidel. And he's not really got any wins about him, has he? Like, he was team boss over at McLaren. Maybe you could say he did improve McLaren. He did a little bit. And then he was CEO over at Sauber Racing. Did he have a big impact there? Maybe an impact, but he's not. But he's not a proven winner, is he? And you can't. And the thing is, when you look at the last 20 years, dominated by Mercedes, team principal was Toto Wolff, and dominated by Red Bull, team principal was Horner. So if you are looking for proven winners, you're really looking at Toto Wolff or Christian Horner. And Toto Wolff's tied up right now. And that's just how it... And that's the last 20 years. So surely those two are the most valuable team principals right now in Formula One. Surely. Well, there you go. Wayne says, let's not forget Williams were constantly bragging about how they were ready for 26. I know. We're so ready for 26. James Vowles saying, it's the best car we've ever produced. Really, James? If this is the best car you've ever produced, well, it's as bad as your 2030. It's as bad as the Williams. Was it 2013 when they didn't make it, or was it 2014 when they didn't make it to Barcelona test either, and it was their worst ever season? Yeah, not great. I have a green plant. Jim Clark, NASA have forgot how they got through the radiation field. All knowledge lost check. And it is a funny fact. What happened to Paddy Lowe? I mean, someone talks about Rob Smedley. Like, he's never been a team principal, but I do like the cut of his jib. I do think he had a lot about him when he was Kimi's race engineer. Oh, sorry, Massa's. Not Kimi. Felipe Massa's race engineer. Yeah, it's interesting. It's all going on. Do you know what? I like Friday nights. I've enjoyed it. I've had a beer. We've been able to talk a lot through the chat. It's been a good one tonight. But yeah, Friday night. That's your story. Updated you on Wheatley. Updated you on Audi. Aston Martin. Done all this stuff. Good. I think we've done it. Yeah. So good. Right. Go and enjoy a beer yourself. It's Friday night. Relax. Get a takeaway. Eat some food. Enjoy your evening. I will be back on Sunday night for the new show. Sunday night, 7:30. Obviously, make sure you got the bell or icon ticked out behind your subscribe button for any breaking news, because I have a feeling there could be some breaking news over this weekend, so you don't want to miss those bulletins. And I will see you all Sunday night. Enjoy your weekends. Thanks for keeping me company. Ta-ta.